Hello and welcome to Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, we're going to break down Ace Bailey from Rutgers opener in the preseason against St. John's. Ace had 25 points in this game, and it's truly one of the most interesting opening games of a significant top 5 prospect that I can remember watching and evaluating. It is everything about Ace Bailey that is incredible and makes scouts so excited to talk about, and also some of the maddening qualities about Ace Bailey that has scouts a bit befuddled early on in the season. And really, it all comes down to this discussion of whether or not things are easy enough, right? Ace Bailey takes a lot of really difficult shots. He takes an insane amount of difficult shots. And honestly, in this game, I don't know that I would qualify anything other than a couple of catch and shoot threes as a particularly easy shot. So what do you do with this? This is a player that is a 6'9" shot creating wing who has this unique ability to hit exceptionally difficult shots at 18 years old already in a way that is almost unlike any prospect you're going to see at that age. Like, there are a couple you can point to. Jason Tatum would be one of them, that was just so exceptional at creating and also making difficult shots like this from the mid-range, from three, off step backs, off of side steps, anything you want. But also, Ace didn't really create any shots at the rim, and he really only had one, I think, attempt at the rim. And as you'll see later in the video, he got blocked on it. So it's this juxtaposition of the greatness that is Ace Bailey's elite skill set that translates in every way to the NBA. The NBA is looking for tough shot makers. The NBA is looking for shot creators at this size. It's arguably the thing they're looking for most in the league right now. But also, what do you do when things don't come as easily? Is it a situation where you can actually create shots in this way? Can you be efficient enough offensively in this way to be worth a top 5 pick and end up giving back the value to your team that they're looking for? So let's just kind of jump in and talk about the tape, because it is fascinating to talk through. I'm just going to be honest. So we're just going to kind of jump into his defense here. Some interesting clips defensively. We're going to talk about some really positive moments for Ace where you can see the high-end potential that he has. And we're going to talk about some moments where it's a little bit questionable. So Ace on this possession he's in the corner here. He's number 4 for people who have not seen Ace Bailey or watched this game yet. As you can see here, Ace is here standing kind of off of his man while one pass away. This is a fairly easy pass for this player to make to the corner. This is not his tag. This is Dylan Harper's tag. Dylan Harper recognizes that he's responsible for the roll man here. He's available. He's making sure that if the big rolls, he's available to make sure that he does not have just a free runway to the rim. It is entirely possible that Steve Pikiell is telling his wings to both sag in. College coaches do weird things. I want to acknowledge that. But to me, this is too far off. And this is where, throughout this video, we're going to see some really interesting moments of Ace Bailey, again, being 6'9", super high level athlete, being able to cover an immense amount of ground on the court. He really can cover ground at a super high level all across the basketball court on defense. But this is one where I think he's just a little bit too far off. Gives up the open 3 here. And you don't want to preach too hard about some of this stuff, right? In preseason games, this is the first game that Ace Bailey has played at the high major level at 18 years old. These are just little things that he's going to have to continue to improve upon, right? So you see here, Dylan Harper ready to slide over from the backside, has taken that step with his left foot. He's ready to go on that roll. Shot goes up. He tries to get a body on it. But, Ace Bailey can cover ground. He's super long. He's super athletic. I just think that at times he falls asleep a little bit on defense, and we'll talk through some of those moments. This one here, Bailey again, weak side corner. This one, you kind of get a chance to see just how impactful his length can be whenever he's able to get out there and contest a shot, right? This one again, he recognizes that he's going from being the weak side to the strong side here, where he's got to at least be a little bit available in the paint. But man, that's a super difficult contest to shoot up over the top of, isn't it? You can see him just flying up over, sees that the shot's going up. And if he's there, it's hard to shoot over 6'9", 6'10" with long arms in real vertical pop. He contests it. It's a great shot. Obviously, they don't get the rebound. Ejiofor ends up going up. I think he gets fouled on that one. But you can see kind of the dichotomy already of the defensive play for Ace, where it's sometimes really great, sometimes a little bit of sleep. You can see the potential, though, regardless, just given how well he covers ground. So this one here, they ran a lot of these tight horns actions at the top, right? So horns would be point guard here, 4-man, 5-man coming up to set a potential screen. Sometimes horns is more at the elbows here and here where these two guys set up. Other times it's more high up the court, kind of like a horns extended look. This is like a tight extended kind of horns situation here. So Ace is going to set a screen. He sees that St. John's is going to go 2 on the ball and he just pops out. And this will give us our first chance to take a look at Ace's jumper. Ace ends up 1-2 stepping into this. I wouldn't say that's typically his preferred mode of operation. Typically off the catch, he is going to take it off the hop. I think this one coming from his right is why he ends up 1-2 stepping into this. It's just a little bit easier to get your balance underneath you in that way. I think the shot overall looks generally good with one exception. I think the shot ends up being a little flat from time to time. The trajectory can be a little bit off, but you can really see that he's engaging his legs here, getting real strength coming up through that lower half. Has a bit of a flick of the wrists. This one has good trajectory on it. I would say it's a little bit higher. You can see the ball kind of softly in the air. It's spinning. Really good follow through. Really good balance. Basically lands right wherever he took off on his leap. And then last thing worth noting here as well, definitely elevates a little bit into the shot, right? And that's where he is such an effective pull-up player in general. Pulls up on his pull-ups, he even ends up elevating a little bit more than that a lot of the time. This one ends up not going in, but in general, I think it looked pretty clean there. And then this one here, trailing back, weak side corner. Steps up, helps, ends up getting the steal. Ball goes out. Ends up being a foul. Ends up missing the shot, but is active enough on defense, engaged enough to realize that stepping up here is a good decision, given that they're in semi-transition, especially given that I believe that with a trailer coming through for St. John's, maybe this is the one where I think Kadari Richmond kind of went down for a second. But yeah, I love the step up. I love the help. It creates havoc. It creates chaos. Ends up creating 2 free throw opportunities. So this is another transition opportunity, kind of the next defensive possession down, right? Ace takes an outlet in transition. And this is one where I think we can kind of see the limitations of Bailey's handle a bit. And that is a real concern. And to me, this is where the issue of getting easy shots versus the spectacular play of knocking down contested mid-range shots or contested 3-point shots that he's created, right? So this one here, he's essentially going 1-on-2. He's got his man in front of him, and this big has no reason to worry based off of who's in the frame here, right? There's nobody that is trailing close enough to where he shouldn't help onto Bailey. So Bailey ends up kind of exploding by. But one issue that I think Bailey has in general, I think he tends to play more with a hunch than with actual bend. So here you can see that the back is hunched. You can see that round there, as opposed to, and you can see like straight leg here, as opposed to playing with bend, which would be bend through his knees and being able to actually utilize the explosiveness he has through his lower half to be able to potentially use his first step and get by these guys. But he tends to play a little bit hunched and a little bit upright. And I think in part that's because his handle isn't particularly tight. You can see how high the ball is off the ground here. He's just pretty loose with the ball in general on these drives and on these pickups. He's 18 years old. Like, this is all stuff that he's going to improve upon throughout the course of his career here. This is so far from being like a death knell or a significant concern, but it's part of the reason that he doesn't really create easy shots. Now, in my opinion, this just has to be a kick out. This is 23 seconds left on the shot clock. You are getting double teamed and you're about to pull up for like a fading, wrong-footed mid-range jumper here. This is not the shot that Rutgers wants. This is not the shot that Steve Peichel wants with 23 seconds left on the shot clock. I do think Bailey's vision needs some work. In general, his passing, his willingness to make the right reads as opposed to pull up for difficult mid-range jumpers, it's going to have to come. But man, like, you can just already see, look at how high up he is. Look at where that release point is, all the way up here, really elevating into the shot, using that right leg to be able to create just that little bit of separation. I mean, this looks beautiful. It's just not the right shot at the right time. And that's where we get this juxtaposition of, just because you can do it, should you do it? It's going to be an interesting part of his game to track throughout the course of the season. So Bailey here at the top of the key, inbounds play, Dylan Harper inbounding the ball. Again, shot off of movement. I think in general, when he takes it's good to see him take shots off of movement. I think that when he is on the move like this, off of actions, instead of kind of settling and getting a little bit more balanced, he has a tendency to just go the way his momentum is taking him, especially when he's going to the left. This is an insanely difficult shot, obviously. An incredibly difficult shot. 18 seconds left on the shot clock. You can see St. John's trying to communicate through it. They end up just having the guy guarding Bailey kind of fight through it, it looks like. Or no, they end up switching the first action here with number 44 and number 5. Bailey's going to come around. This man here is going to switch and be the contest. And this man here is going to take the St. John's player, or take the Rutgers player, I'm sorry. It's just a really hard shot. And I think he needs to do a slightly better job of getting all the way on balance, or getting a little bit more balanced. You can kind of see on this one, going to his left, kind of lands one-legged awkwardly. It's just kind of a weird looking shot, right? So again, decision-making, you can see already, is an adventure at times, but it's because he's so gifted that he can already at 18 years old take these shots. It's one of the most interesting prospect profiles I can remember. So this one, I really like this rotation over from the weak side. That's why I put it on here, right? Drive comes here. Just absolutely no ball pressure whatsoever. After that pump fake, Rutgers center has to step up to help, which means he's responsible for helping the helper here. He has to slide across, and then if his man gets open on a weak side kick out over here, Harper has to kick out. It's just, you're in scramble mode. You're helping helpers all over the place. But he recognizes here, I'm responsible for helping the helper. And he uses that length, uses that size to come over, blocks the shot, at least contests it. I think he blocks it. You'd love to see him get the rebound. I think in general, I would like to see the rebounding in the hands continue to get just slightly better. He has an immense potential as a rebounder. It's just not always 1,000% there. You see some moments in this game where he ended up bobbling a few rebounds above his head. Nothing egregious or anything. But this one, again, comes up, helps, gives second effort here. Forces the travel. There's our official coming over, calling it out. Next one. They ran a few actions like this throughout the game, Rutgers, where essentially like kind of weavy at the top. I really like how often Rutgers is utilizing actions with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey already. extended high horn set. This one, dribble handoff from Durkak over to Ace Bailey. Ace is going to come around and you set up for a dribble handoff here between Harper and Bailey, where St. John's is going to figure out how to guard that. St. John's going to figure out how to deal with that. He ends up rejecting, gets into all this space with this defender here. And again, you can just kind of see the handle's a little bit high again, right? It's pretty high off the ground. He's using it for a hang dribble, obviously. I get it. He's a very tall human. I get it. But this is where playing as upright as he does, I think can kind of lead to him settling. I would love to see him go in this circumstance, and this is something that he'll be able to do. So he's going hang dribble here, and this would be a beautiful counter for him to develop. Crossover here, right to left, and that should open an angle for him to drive at that point. And if he does that against this defender, who, as you can see, kind of hunched, doesn't look super comfortable defending Ace Bailey, should force a situation where somebody has to step up. Be it the big has to step up and help, be it the wing steps over and helps. Create a ton of opportunities as a passer and playmaker. But he's just not there yet. Going right, left on the gather, he does tend to do that a lot, even as a righty, which is a little bit abnormal. Right, left, very narrow base, goes up. Again, very high release point as well, worth calling out, right? This is one where the base is probably just slightly too narrow. Feet are a little bit too close, but he has the ability to realign in midair as part of it. He's so balanced, so coordinated on these shots, and is such polish on attempting them that he has the ability to rebalance himself and realign his elbow in midair to be able to get a clean open look. So this one, I put this one on here because I assume that he's going to see a lot of this. And then also you can kind of see the looseness of the handle a little bit. I assume, like if I was coaching against Ace Bailey, I would do a couple of things. I would say, hey, anytime he takes a ball screen, we're going to trap. We're going to put two on the ball and we're going to make him make a good decision. We're going to make him pass the ball. Or we're going to make him kind of retreat and regather himself. So they do that here. I'd assume he's going to see a lot of that this season. Then this one, he tries to break him down a little bit, and this is one where, again, you can kind of see he tries to get like a wide base, but it's more of a hunch than playing with like actual bend, right? And I feel like he just kind of gets slightly off balance and then ends up having to kick it out. But even so, even with that kick out, he has so much gravity as an overall player where teams know how good he is that this man is sagging so far into the paint, one pass away. He ends up having to close out. Defender does a good job. Guy just makes a really tough shot, right? But that's the kind of power that Bailey is going to have as an overall player at some point. So this one, going to get a kick out. We're going to get to see Bailey knock one down finally from Dylan Harper here. Dylan Harper, really good pick and roll player, gets the penetration. One thing with Bailey that you will see is this is, again, left-right footwork, comes in, steps into the shot, drills it. I think he has really good touch. It's just that no two shots are the same right now, kind of. So this one, you can kind of see the body like kind of twist, and he's kind of leaning forward a little bit on this one, I would argue. Like his momentum is going a little bit forward. You can't really tell in this still image because he's like mid twist here and it looks pretty balanced in this image. But if you go back just like slightly, you can see how like the momentum is going forward. He ends up taking just like that extra little gather step on the land, right? So dun dun with the right foot there. Goes in though. He has really good touch. He can shoot the ball. This one, 8:30 left. Bailey has 5 points so far. And this is just truly one of the most ridiculous shots. We're going to stop on this because I want to call out a few important things here. That is one of the most ridiculous shots that you will see somebody make. So the set here is, again, kind of that outside weave dribble handoff action. He's going to get a screen. It's not a great screen. His man fights through it, stands him up. Again, Bailey just playing very upright here, right? He sees this man kind of step up. He picks up the ball. Bailey has a tendency, in my opinion, that he needs to get rid of picking up the ball just way too early. What I would like to see him do here is keep the dribble alive and maybe just like retreat and reset. He has the ability to do that. He's athletic enough to do that. Instead, he kind of takes this hop step here. This is where I'm going to call out how early we are in the shot clock. We're at 22 seconds left on the shot clock here. In my opinion, with this defender having stepped up, his eyes are going this way. This ball's got to go here. Ball has got to go to the cutter. I get why he doesn't make like the pocket pass there. I wouldn't recommend that. But the ball's to go to the cutter early. Instead, now he's kind of stuck. And now he's going to take an insane pull-up shot. This is a fadeaway, twisting to his right as a right-handed shooter. This is his takeoff point on the pull-up. This is where he is gathering. His feet are turned this way. His elbows are out here. The ball is to the right of his face. And he is so gifted at being able to stay on balance when fading away and has such a high release point that he is able to realign himself and make this shot. It's one of truly the most ridiculous shots I think I have seen in a long time. And I mean that both positively and negatively. Now, like me putting my evaluator hat on, this is just absurd. This is insane. This is ridiculous. Like there are so few players that can relatively consistently make a shot like this at 18 years old. Like you get a little bit older, 22-year-olds, 18-year-olds don't really do this stuff. This is not normal. And yet, if I was coaching Ace Bailey, I would lose my mind. Like I would just completely lose my mind because this ball just really needs to go to the cutter. And at 22 seconds left on the shot clock, this can't be the shot. This cannot be the shot. Ace Bailey, being as good as he is at making this shot, I would guess makes this shot under 30% of the time. This is a contested mid-range pull-up. And yet, even the fact that he makes it under 30% of the time is a ridiculous percentage. It's a completely absurd percentage. Yeah, I mean, everything positive and negative that you need to know about Ace Bailey can almost be summarized in this shot. He is a remarkably special shot maker for somebody his age, that size, that release point. And yet you can see the issues in terms of high handle, early pickup, no reason to pick up the ball here, in my opinion. Misses the cutter from the corner. Decides to take a heavily, ridiculously so contested mid-range pull-up with 21 seconds left on the shot clock. And it doesn't matter. It goes in. He's that special. Like he's that good of a player and that interesting. It's completely ridiculous. So this is a fun set that they ran in order to get him loose. He ends up getting fouled on this shot. So I just really like this set first and foremost. You could very easily from this set, you could have Bailey go set a screen to go up for his big to set a screen up on the ball. You can do what they do here, which sets up almost as him going up to set a screen initially. And depending on who this player is down here, it doesn't always have to be a big. You can run your stack pick and roll out of it where he sets the screen. The man at the baseline comes up, screens Ace's man. Ace can roll, Ace can pop, can do whatever he wants there. Or you can do what they do, which is set up Ace into a little screening action. Again, realistically, this ball probably shouldn't go to Bailey. I think that this ball should be going to 21, wide open. Nobody, this man's tagging, but he's nowhere near ready enough. The other thing I love about this set and the way that Rutgers does this, they empty out this side of the court for Bailey, and they have this player lift, number 0, Durkak, who won the NEC Player of the Year last year at Merrimack. So they have him lift, which makes this a really, really hard tag for this player here. And they have this player coming across, which makes it kind of a confusing tag. It's just a really fun set from Rutgers here. So what ends up happening, Ace just kind of decides to size this player up, rejects a ball screen, fires, gets fouled. 4 seconds left on the shot clock. It's a fine shot with that kind of time left. I grabbed these, just free throws, right? Again, you can kind of see just kind of a flat trajectory at times on the shot. That's something that'll get fixed as he kind of works through his career early on. This one goes in, but again, pretty flat on the trajectory. This one kind of a bailout entry from Harper to Bailey. Ends up taking a truly ridiculous fadeaway, step back. He takes a ton of these shots. Like, it just is the reality of his game. One thing that is kind of hard to deal with him, he kind of does a lot of things in reverse of the way that many players do them, right? So like, I think a lot of players here would probably just dribble the ball with their left hand and kind of go out and maybe take a, dribble handoff potential from Harper or whatever you want to do here, right? Instead, he turns inside on his right pivot foot and kind of tries to create a bit of an angle, which I really like. I think that it makes him a little bit harder of a guard. It makes him a little bit more awkward in terms of dealing with things. This one takes a pound dribble to the right, step back. I mean, look, there's 11 seconds on the shot clock. There's still enough time for him to potentially go and try and find a better shot than this. I at least like that it's not from the mid range. I think he took it from behind the 3-point line, but yeah, no, that can't be your best. Just can't be your best opportunity for a shot here. Really just can't be. They end up getting the rebound, and I think they even scored on that. But yeah, that's not what we like to see. So this one, again, comes up. Early pass. Going to his left. Flat trajectory on the shot here is what I wanted to call out. Going to his left on the move. Comes out. It's just very flat. He misses a little bit to the right as well, as opposed to straight down. You kind of see how his body twists a little bit in midair as well. There's just little things he's going to have to do to quiet things down, in my opinion, as he shoots the ball. And that'll come again, like, 18-year-old players are not finished products. This one, this is a good defensive possession where we get to see just how much ground he can cover across the court, just being as big and as athletic as he is. I don't really love the last little like same side help there. I think he opens up an angle for a pass, but the reason I grabbed this one is he's the weak side. Low man comes in, tags, does his job, then recognizes that the St. John's guard is coming up just to hit this like little shake pass up to the wing, and you just see him fly out with his length, but also stays on balance, right? Look at that. Stays on balance. He's right up in his grill, right up in his chest. This is exactly what we're looking for in terms of ground coverage, closing down, being able to tag and then fly out and recognize that the kick out is coming. It's perfect. This little sag in here, once the guard, so he's setting up for a ball screen here where he could again be the low man, right? If this man goes this way, he's the low man on the weak side, has to be responsible for the roller. I think he just kind of goes a little bit early here because this ends up being a rejected screen instead. And he's there to help if necessary, but I kind of think he ends up in no man's land a little bit, but that's more process than results. This one, 4 minutes left in the first half. One thing we noted earlier, If I was coaching against Ace Bailey, I would have two guys on the ball whenever he takes a ball screen. Make him hit this pass. Hit the outlet man. He has all this space. You got to make him hit it. And this one, he just absolutely airmails it. Absolutely airmails it. No idea how that is executed in that way, but that's a rough one. That's one that like kind of gives you a little bit of pause, to be honest. Next, again, good closeout, stays in front, slides. This one, realizes here his man might need some help. Also, he's there because he's kind of tagging the roller as well. He is the low man on the weak side. If you consider this just like little action here, a ball screen, and this big is rolling. He does have to be there. He does have to be available. Just a bad decision to go up and try and get it. So a lot of good, a lot of bad on defense for Ace right now. That was bad, but the initial closeout was really good. You can see some positive flashes here and there. This one, end of the first half. This end of the first half was hilarious. Like, I don't know whether or not to take it as like preseason ball or what, but St. John's takes a shot with 19 seconds left with the shot clock off, like a weird contested shot. Ball gets out to Ace Bailey. He crosses over. He takes and drills the shot with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. If I was Rick Pitino again, or if I was Steve Peichel, I would be losing my mind. Why are we not holding for the last shot? I don't know, but you see the crossover here. I don't think the crossover is super quick necessarily yet. Again, kind of playing hunched, straight-legged at times, but he can stop and pivot around on that foot and just go up and drill a little free throw jumper. Process versus results is always fascinating with Ace Bailey because this is a no-no for me. I don't love it. He's made a couple of these shots though, where if I was Steve Peichel, I'd be going, no, 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 absolutely not. No, no, no. Yes. Cool. Sounds good. You made it. Like it's going to be like this all year for people. I hope that you guys are ready for it. And there are going to be games where he drops 35 and there are going to be games where he probably goes like 3 for 12 and 3 for 14 or something because he's just not making the mid-range shot. So start of the second half here. There's not as much from him in the second half outside of like a 4-possession outburst where he just went like absolutely crazy. I put this one on here because it looks awkward, but I actually liked the vision here. I liked what he saw. You can see that he, again, because he's quite upright, gets cut off. I like that he spins back on that right pivot foot there. Again, just like kind of awkward, not in a way that defenders or most defenders would look at it. At what point do I think he sees Dylan Harper? I think actually it's literally just right here. I don't think he sees him before this moment, but I like that he sees him and I like that he makes the kick out. He's able to get it out to him. Harper with that nice little behind the back dribble. This one, Harper's going to throw the ball in to the post. This is where I think Bailey needs to live as a catch and shoot player. And he does tend to take shots off the hop, but I think the shot just looks so much cleaner when he takes it off the hop. I think the balance is better. I think that everything just looks so much crisper with him. And this is one pass straight on. This is probably the easiest shot he'll take all day. I think the base looks really good here. Base shoulder length apart. Momentum going toward the rim. Really clean release. Beautiful, beautiful release here. That is as clean as it gets. That's where I think he needs to live as a shooter instead of some of the other stuff that we saw earlier in terms of like the gathers, the left rights. If I was, trainer, I'd be like, I want him to live playing off the hop, playing off of 2 feet, being able to do things that way. That's where I think he can be immensely successful as a catch and shoot player. This one comes around empty side and my goodness, look at that jab step. Whoo! Look at this. Going to come around empty side. Bam. His whole momentum is going this way. Comes around, drills that elbow jumper. Again, I will just say, and I don't mean to harp on this, but like upright kind of takes like a rounded angle to get to the elbow, right? He is athletic enough to where if he jabs, doesn't round it behind the 3-point line, but instead just goes this way and then goes toward this help defender. When he's older, he's going to be able to cross back and get to the rim like this. I hope. He has the ability, the balance, the coordination, the physical tools to be able to do that. But instead, kind of rounds around the 3-point line. He's still behind the 3-point line at this point as his man is kind of getting back to a point where he can recover. And he drills it. Like, again, the result here is amazing. Honestly, the process on the jab step is amazing. That initial just separation creator, that's a violent jab step to be able to force that man to go this way. But again, like kind of rounds it along. The handle isn't tight enough yet to be able to go in like real straight lines. Once that comes, and it should come, Ace Bailey is going to be like a serious, serious problem. So Bailey is here on the defensive end. Here, he just gets like completely toasted on the backside. So what happens here? They kind of run like a little exchange. You can see that St. John's man here says, come up to number 12. So you should understand that there's going to be some sort of exchange. Bailey, I think, assumes there's going to be exchange because look at how they're setting up. Staggered screens coming up this way. But if you play denial, every offense has the option for this player to back cut that way. He just gets completely turned on that back cut, then tries to recover, doesn't quite communicate quick enough with his teammate. That ends in what I would consider a good shot in an open three. Again, you got to be really engaged at all times here if you're Ace Bailey on defense. You got to make sure that you're ready to go. You got to make sure that you can not just be selling out to blow this up. And still, he gets like a okay contest on the shot because the ground coverage is ridiculous. But, you know, just the overall awareness on defense is going to come. He's 18 years old. This was his first game. There were a lot of positives on defense. So this one reverses around. Again, off the hop. Rhythm going toward the basket. This time coming from the left, right? Takes it off the hop. Nothing but net. Just look at how much cleaner it all looks when he takes it off the hop. The balance, playing off of 2 feet. Straight up and down. Great trajectory. Getting the legs really involved, it feels like. That's where he needs to live, in my opinion. He needs to live with that kind of shot prep. This one, I mean, just completely ridiculous. This is where he just got like smoldering hot. So the first 3 came 16:49 in the second half. This one came at the 13:10. And then this next one is going to come literally the next possession down. So that's like 11 points in 3.5 minutes or so. When he gets hot, he gets smoldering hot. Again, I will just call out on the pull up, right? He gets a narrow base on the pull up from time to time, right? Like look at where that foot is. That's inside shoulder width apart. I think that there is some tinkering that's going to have to come with the jump shot. Going to have to come from a player that just has so many tools and so many gifts that you can just easily see how it gets fixed very easily here. Turns, looks at him, talks an immense amount of shit right back to him. 23 points. It's a quick 23, baby. That's a very quick 23. This one, I think literally the next possession down the court, takes it off the hop. Long shot. I think that he really tried to like flick this with the arms a little bit. You can see like this is NBA distance for an 18-year-old. I like that he takes it off the hop. Feels like he really kind of brought that ball back toward his face a little bit there, a little bit more than what is normal to really kind of fling that ball toward the rim just to generate power. You can see that the lower half isn't quite there. And that's where the shot trajectory ends up flattening out, right? Like you can see compared to the last shot, it's just very flat. The release point can waver a little bit. He can get a little bit inconsistent with it, but there's just so much to work with, as you guys can see too. So this one, Durkak comes down, tries to absolutely stuff it on somebody for St. John's. And this is something we haven't seen a ton of in this game. Bailey does have a really good mid-post game, really balanced, capable of getting to like a number of like little Dirk fadeaways, can do some really interesting things. This one, this is like one of those plays in football where the safety is just kind of playing like in robber coverage and the quarterback just like never sees him. It feels like to me. He's clearly trying to get this ball to Durkak. He's got like the 1-on-2, right? So 1, 2, 1 there. There's really only like one spot where he can't put this ball. And he put it literally right in the one spot he couldn't put it. This is where we get to see that like very clearly, like Bailey is not really manipulating anybody with his eyes. He's not really moving guys. He's not making guys think that he's going one way and then he's able to drill a pass the other way, right? I like that he throws this off of a live dribble with velocity, but yeah, the passing, the playmaking, all of that really needs to improve. Like really, really needs to improve over the course of the next year. Again, he's 18 and he's an unbelievable shot creator. So he has tools that will allow him to get a lot of reps doing it. And you just have to hope that it comes at some point. So this one reverses around to him. And yeah, I mean, to me, this really just can't be the shot here. Doesn't really ever get balanced. He's just kind of going forward and throws the ball up at the rim. You just kind of see him just holding on to the ball, right? He's definitely a let's hold and survey and try and figure out what's going on here kind of guy. I can see why people wouldn't enjoy playing with that kind of situation. Let's go with. And not every scout is going to fall in love with that either. Scouts in today's NBA really like guys who make quick decisions. And right now, Ace Bailey is a player that tends to hold on to the ball. This one, defensively, again, we're going to get to see some ground coverage here. Steps in, there to tag on the weak side. The other thing I really like about this one is look at the communication here. Points to Jordan Durkak, says, hey, stay with this man. He's engaged. He's talking. He's going to filter through. He's going to stay attached here. Ends up being a foul, but that was a really strong defensive possession to me. For if I'm going to call out the bad ones, I'm going to call out the good ones, even if they don't end up showcasing themselves in any sort of, box score stat, right? Doesn't end well, but the process is good. It's the right way to play. This one, this is the only shot at the rim, folks. This is the one attempt where he finally gets a chance to drive to the basket. And you can see why he does it. This is a wide open driving lane. But the problem is he has to take that little extra step there with the left hand, take that pound dribble, just kind of upright on the drive, right? I don't think he gets as much out of his athleticism on these drives as what he should and what he will be capable of once he figures this out. This one, like, This is probably the closest you will see to him getting like really strong bend, right? Like he's playing through his lower half. It's a little bit more of a hunch than bend, but like you can see the legs are at least like bent slightly. Takes that step around. I don't think his footwork around the basket in crowds yet is quite good either. This is one where when he's older and stronger as well, he's going to be able to pick up this ball here and probably, I don't know if he'll need to take the extra step even. Maybe, I mean, with the route he took kind of going around the screen here, he had to. But the thing here is that I feel like he doesn't quite have chemistry with Martini yet as a screener. So he kind of takes this extra step to the left. Whereas Martini kind of has this guy sealed here, right? Like this is a nice step up. He should just be able to turn here and go pretty straight. So that's what he could do. Instead, he's out here, right? So let's get the other arrow back up. He's there instead of there. That doesn't look like a lot. It's probably, what, foot and a half maybe on the court, but that's extra time for this man to rotate over. It's extra time for the defense to crowd, right? And to make his life harder as a finisher. That's stuff that'll come. The footwork stuff will come eventually, but it's really not there right now. And it's a big part of why he takes a lot of very difficult shots. He takes a lot of very difficult shots right now. Next. Yeah, this is one where I think he just kind of falls asleep defensively again. Right? So man filters through. I feel like he thought here that Dylan Harper was beat. So he decided to stay here just in case. Harper was pretty attached. And then he kind of steps in, and his man is just so open because he's ball watching. He's still ball watching. He finally figures out where his man is, but the Ejiofor, I think, figures out what's going on and goes to try and seal him to create this open kick out lane. So, I mean, just count how long Ace Bailey is looking at the ball here, right? So looking at the ball, looks away briefly here, but doesn't look at his man. Looking at the ball, sees this man come in here to seal, and it just creates this wide open kick out. Again, I will say the ground coverage is pretty sick because he goes from inside the semicircle with his left foot all the way out to contest that shot. When the engagement comes, he's going to be a good defender. He's going to be a really good defender, I think. But he needs to lock in. Just needs to lock in a little bit more, stay aware of where everything is, and just continue to get reps as much as anything. All right, this one, minute 30 left. Rutgers is down. Just kind of tosses one up, right? I think this is the last play we're going to look at here. And again, 19 seconds left on the shot clock. I can't imagine that that's what Pikel wanted necessarily. I can't imagine that's what the hope was. As you can see, evaluating Bailey this year is going to be a real process versus results kind of deal, right? Where there are going to be spectacular highs. He's going to get hot like he did in that stretch for the second quarter or the second half. I'm sorry, where he's going to go and he's going to drill off like 11 points in 3.5 minutes and look like very clearly the number one player in the country. And then you're going to watch the full games and you're going to watch the possession by possession moments and you're going to go, oh, so there's a lot going on here where he still needs to improve. The thing is, though, that outside of the vision and I would say the handle, like I have some questions about where the handle will get to long term. You can see how he's going to improve at everything. You can see how starting from this base of skills is just so much greater than where almost anybody else is starting from just the overall athleticism, right? 6'9", unbelievably coordinated, great balance, super comfortable as a shooter, very high release point, able to create shots off the bounce, uses jab steps, uses side steps, can get to a crossover going backward, not necessarily getting forward yet. But man, there are just so many tools there. And yet the process is not as easy as it should be right now because the high handle is real. The footwork in general around the basket and on his drives and on his pickups needs real improvement. The defensive awareness needs to improve. Hasn't a ton of tools defensively. You can see how it's going to get much, much better in time. But this is all a statement of who he is as an 18-year-old. You can see a real pathway to here. And by the way, he'll be 18 on draft night in 2025 still. You can see a real pathway where it's like, we as an organization for an NBA team, if I was working for a team, we can fix these things. We can get them with a trainer. We can work through the footwork questions. We can work through some of the jumper questions, right? Where the shot kind of flattens out from time to time. The release point kind of wavers a little bit, right? But man, there are just so many tools here. There are a ridiculous number of tools here. And you could say that about a ton of players, right? Brandon Ingram is a guy that has so many tools. Very gifted player. And leaves you wanting a little bit more from time to time. He's made an all-star game. He is a fantastic player. And yet, the Pelicans, seemingly, at least according to reports, listened to offers on him and never quite got the trade offer that made sense for them, right? Because he is a player that tends to hold the ball a little bit, kind of like Bailey does, and also tends to make things a little bit difficult with a lot of mid-range jumpers and a lot of pull-up stuff instead of getting all the way to the rim and using his length, his athleticism to be able to do that stuff. So Bailey's by far the most interesting evaluation to me this year. There are so many gifted tools. There's so much talent here just naturally where you can point to and go, this is the next big wing shot creator that will come through the draft process. He's going to be a many-time all-star. You can easily look at Ace Bailey and see the next Paul George. You can also look at some of the flaws and wonder about his overall basketball IQ, and you can wonder about some of the decision-making. It's all on display, and that's why the preseason game was fascinating. It was all there for everybody to see from game one for Ace Bailey. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We'll be back with some more breakdowns over here on this channel. Go to the Game Theory social channels. Game Theory Sam V over on X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you get fun social media contact. Andrew Claudio, GMAC, is doing a great job running those channels. We'll be back later this week with some more fun stuff. Until next time, we'll talk.